Hello.
Hello.
Firstly, if you just want to give yourself a quick introduction.
Yeah, man. I'm Adam. I'm from Glitchqraft. I am, in fact, entirely Glitchqraft at this point, but, that is me.
Okay, and can you just tell us a little bit, you say Glitchqraft. Let's just jump ahead a bit, but what is Glitchqraft? What is the story behind that name?
Okay, so it's really tough now, I think, quite late to the party when it comes to, coming up with a name for a channel. Like, all the obvious ones are taken from all the kind of, cool sort of gaming terms and things. So I was having a quick sort of look around, trying to find areas that weren't sort of covered. Just couldn't come across anything that wasn't already sort of being used. So instead I kind of went back a bit and I sort of decided to work it backwards. I was like, well, what do I want this channel to be about? Obviously I want it to be about gaming, but I knew I wanted it to be about the actual art and the history of it. And when I was kind of looking up sort of, words around that, like the word craft kept appearing, sort of, people crafting things or, sort of in that idea of creation and stuff. And I quite like that. So I then came across, I was thinking about sort of like, I was talking to my friends about it, saying like, yeah, it's, sort of about like the magic of video gaming and stuff, which kind of came up with the idea of witchcraft, sort of, and that sort of thing. So I was like, okay, I can do a little play on the word witchcraft if I'm going with that. And then the glitch part obviously relates to video gaming. So I was like, that fits together nicely. And then I just thought, like, to make it a bit more sort of like a brand, that's why I flipped the C to a Q in craft, just to give it that kind of quirky sort of, something that kind of stands out. And actually, like looking ahead then, when we were sort of designing the logo for it, it looked just way nicer that it ended up with a Q rather than like a C, and it just, it all fell into place. So that was kind of it, really. Sort of ties to the sort of the gaming and the artistry, but also like witchcraft and yeah.
I hadn't picked up the witchcraft, and that's actually quite. I like that. Yeah, the magic of gaming. So
yeah.
I hadn't picked up for that at all. Also, I had because I had a quote or I looked from on your channel where you're talking about a community of gamers, and I was going to bring up the spelling error of community, and then I realised that craft is spelled with a Q, and of course that's why it's called community. I take it anyway, unless that is a spelling error I've come across.
Yeah, it's one of those things that whether it'll ever catch on or not, I don't know. But I just thought it's something a bit, again, it kind of keeps that brand running through. A bit Mortal Kombat-y with the, they have the K on Mortal Kombat and, the way they spell other things with a K elsewhere in places.
The 90s, just everything was a C. Anything that could have been a C is instead of a K.
Exactly. And to be honest, I'd like to say that's the entire reason I did it, sort of like some sort of homage to like that era. But it's not really. I just think, again, it's trying to create like a brand identity is so important, I think, for your sort of marketing and sort of keeping it feeling quite sort of professional and as if you've thought about every avenue, so much of it is about perception. So I think as long as you can kind of, you got to be confident with it. I've already had a few friends like laugh at like, oh, community with a Q. You got to ride that storm and hope that hope eventually it works. If it doesn't, I'll go back to a C. But it's fine.
Well, we know all about the struggle of trying to find branding and trying to find a unique name nowadays.
Yeah.
Trying to come up with anything, and we've ended up having to align ourselves to communism just to have a catchy title. Kind of thing.
No, it's a good title. I had a look at your website and stuff, and a part of me was like, what does this mean? Like, is this also like some sort of pseudo political message? But I'm assuming it's more, as you say, it's gaming for everyone. Like it's
gaming for everyone. Yeah, it's very loose in terms of the actual communism, but I have already had some comments I've had to delete off Facebook people who've just laughed about Karl Marx and the communists. Like, I actually don't care. Like, we're not actually communism, but
no, you got to remember
it's hard to come up with something. So your channel, in the description you talk about creating a positive community. So I just wondering if you can tell us a little bit more about the ambitions for your channel.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, for me, I've been a gamer for years, and like the whole kind of online community of gaming is still relatively new, given sort of the history of gaming. And there's just so much negativity. People are just so willing to just take chunks out of each other for no reason. And you think like we're all gamers. Like you are literally attacking other people that have the same passion and sort of hobby as you, for very little reason. I saw things like when, Cyberpunk came out and people were sending like death threats to CD Projekt Red and you think like these are human beings who are trying their best to do something. Like, it was a bad time, but it wasn't any individual person's fault. And just got me thinking really over sort of the lockdown that there's room out here, and I know they exist. I'm not kind of naive to think that there isn't lovely communities out there, but I just, I've got quite a close knit group of friends who are gamers who, we talk gaming all the time, but I was like, there are other people out there that I can see are fed up of just this horrible sort of negativity and people just like trolling each other and stuff. So I just, wanted to kind of, that was kind of my initial idea, almost just to get to know some more people, meet kind of like-minded people who love gaming and love sort of everything about it. As for the ambitions, again, over lockdown, really, I was sort of doing a lot of reflection of I'm involved in quite a few sort of projects and things, but I've kind of realised I wasn't really doing a project that just for kind of my own enjoyment, something that I really love, and I've loved gaming, as I say, all my life, really. So I just thought, why not kind of turn that into something that I'm creating content sort of for myself because I enjoy it and it's something that I love. So it doesn't really matter if, whether I've got an audience of 10 or an audience of 10,000 or whatever like that. To me, I just enjoy what I'm creating and I get to meet people. And even already, I'm sort of about a month in maybe. And I've already like made quite a lot of new friends and contacts and had just some lovely sort of feedback and starting to see that kind of, that initial sort of community starting to build. So it is very nice. And I think, doing something for yourself with something that you love is kind of important. It's kind of it's a nice place to be.
Yeah, totally. And I love like the actual positivity of gaming because of, I get a lot of gaming on Twitter and it is an absolute wasteland of toxicity most of the time. So it is very off-putting. And as I say, death threats to CD Project Red just for the game being, they had to rush out because of their threats in the first place.
Exactly. And this is, what thing what bothers me as well, like you see people really go to an effort, like you guys obviously putting out articles and you say you're sorting out your YouTube channel and you're spending your time to create content for people to enjoy, and then you have people who will just go up and just go and dislike that and just say horrible things about what you've done or said. And you think these people aren't doing anything. These people that's what they're spending their time doing, is trying to bring people down who are trying to make the world like a sort of a nicer, friendlier place. And to me, they're the sort, I'm not interested in those people. They will come, I'm sure. They you can't stop them, unfortunately. But I think if you can kind of overpower them with everybody else who is quite nice and positive. And I'm not saying criticism isn't welcome. Of course it is. But it's when people are just needlessly being, awful people to each other just because they're, I don't know, feeling miserable that day or whatever it is. I don't even know what rationale they have, but
it is one that it's balanced as well. Like you want to get as many viewers as possible or as much of a following, but you don't want to let in the toxic community. That's such a large part, and it feels like throwing away people who could be giving you watches or giving you views. You just don't want any part of that toxic environment.
No, and part of me hopes that when they do start coming, that other people will be sort of able to step above it and just ignore them, because I think that's. If you start fueling them, the second you go back at them, and again, more than happy to have debates about things. I've got a video coming out about The Last of Us Part 2. It's been a year since it was released, and I'm going to sort of throw out a video.
That's
very aware that it is.
We see hotly topic.
Yeah, very aware it is divisive. Like even in my sort of friendship group, I am one of the few people that like it. Like a lot of them really didn't enjoy it. And we've had so many conversations about it. I'm happy to have those, but it doesn't need to you don't need to get down in the mud. Like, I'd like to have a chat about why you didn't like it and why I did and sort of, kind of hash those things out. But, the people that just kind of attack for awful kind of sort of bigoted reasons and stuff, like, it's video gaming. Like, chill out a bit. It's, there's important messages and it does have a bigger kind of cultural impact, but at the same time, this is meant to be a kind of escape from real world sort of issues and problems and kind of the horrible stuff outside. So, why bring that in? Don't know.
Yeah, I stopped following all of the news because it's just too. It's a bit depressing. So I only follow gaming news, but when you've got them in the gaming news, just console wars and people taking shots at each other's passions, it's bad upsetting. And we've actually got with Comic Gamer, I've won the rules. I don't impose many rules on the writers. Everyone's kind of free to write about what they want, but it's nothing negative. I don't want to see the console wars within the pages of our website. I have no interest in it, even though it gets more clicks. Anything that anything that causes outrage gets more views and readers. I'd rather not have that and have positive side. It makes me feel good.
I commend that completely. I think that is. Again, you can fall into those traps of let's just get the quick clicks and stuff. But as you say, the community that you build will not be the one that you want to take forward, and they won't support you moving forward either. It'll be a one and done, or they'll come on, see that you've got an opinion that's different to theirs, and then they'll just forever just be hitting that dislike button whenever you do anything, and it's, you know, it's sour.
Have you encountered any toxicity so far?
No. I mean, I'll be honest. You know, still quite small at the minute. I was before I kind of really start promoting it. I'm hoping to kind of get a few more videos on the channel so that there's a bit more of a variety of things. Because I think if you were to jump on at the minute, I've got sort of the intro video and then quite a long deep dive video. And part of me thinks, well, that isn't going to be everybody's cup of tea. And you know, I want people to come on and go, actually, well, there's an 8-minute video that maybe that's more like more my style than a 16-minute or whatever. But no, thankfully nothing yet. A lot of support, to be honest, and a lot of people kind of from my old sort of, you know, networks and stuff who I didn't know were into gaming have suddenly kind of appeared and you know, really engaging with what I'm doing. So that's really nice.
Imagine a lot of people have got into gaming within this last year, to be honest.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's boomed. You look at the sort of sales for, especially like the Nintendo Switch, which I think, you know, just, well, and obviously, yeah, the release of the PS5 that you still can't get hold of and all that kind of stuff. You know, it's clear that gaming is in a bit of a boom, which is nice.
Markets be talking more about it and say, I love video gaming, but I kind of just love talking about video games more than that. I just enjoy the community. I enjoy like seeing what's coming out, discussing, you know, what the various devs done. So yeah, while gaming is passion, I'd say the actual community around it is my actual passion about it.
Yeah, good man. No, I totally agree. I enjoy just as much as playing is talking about the stuff, especially, you know, I've loved it for so long and seen it grow and sort of evolve and how all the, you know, how all the kind of franchises that you love have developed and exploded and stuff. And there's just so much to talk about, and you know, you find that when people are really into it, if they're not just sort of a casual gamer, even if they are casual, they sort of appreciate it, I think. But kind of the more hardcore gamers really do love it when you kind of dig into the lore a bit and sort of, you know, you got some cool facts about, you know, why this was written this way or what, you know, why they stylized it that way. Yeah, I could talk about it all day.
Yeah, and I mean, it's part of toxicity, I guess, but me and my partner will just spend hours debating, you know, things like Game Pass. He plays on PlayStation, I play on Xbox. We've got that sort of within-house console war going on, but like, yeah, it's just a lot of our time is just spent debating and talking about computer games. I'd say it brings people together, sets people apart a little bit, but it's all kind of friendly at least.
Yeah, but as I say, like I think that's important. Like, you know, I would hate it if everything that I said and thought about video gaming was just echoed by my friends, because then what? As you say, you can't talk about it, you can't learn, can't kind of grow to, you know, to understand why some people do like this and some people don't. And that if that isn't a foundation to build a relationship on, I don't know what is. So that's a solid base you've got there.
Well, thank you. And so I look forward to actually seeing you talk about The Last of Us 2. I've seen reactions, of course. I've not played the games, being an Xbox gamer. I've watched how to play number 1. It looked fine to me. It was quite cool. But I am very intrigued to find out what the difference is on number 2 that makes so many people so riled up about it.
I mean, I won't spoil you here. I mean, you might already know, but I won't spoil you kind of to the big. There's a kind of a moment very early on in the game that had everyone up in arms. Which, okay, I can understand why that might be divisive. I think from like a personal perspective, from like a writer's kind of viewpoint, it's a really clever move because it evoked that much of a response. I don't know a video game that's caused that much uproar with a kind of decision. Sort of based on characters and stuff. And to me, if a video game can make you feel that much, then that is a success in of itself. And I think actually the route that allowed the game to go down is something that it wouldn't have done. I think the game would have felt stale if they'd have just continued it sort of as is. What I really hated, the game deals with a lot of what you probably call quite contemporary sort of cultural issues. There's a lot of things in there. There's things about sexuality, gender, you know, kind of beliefs. And that there's just so much like awful. I don't have the word for it really. There's just, you know, I've seen things like racism and like discrimination and just it's a video game, and like these kind of sort of minorities like don't often get kind of airtime in mainstream media. I mean, I know it's getting better, but we're a long way off. And I think to see a video game, in my opinion, tackle it so kind of carefully and with such a kind of impactful sort of statement in each area, because, you know, they really do deal with it very hands-on. I think that deserves, you know, commendment rather than people just like, oh, you know, it's got gay people in it. It's got you know, I just think like what that is not like how shallow are you to sort of, and what an awful person to just hate on a video game because like, oh, I happen to be straight or like just Get out.
I never quite get that. You get a lot of people that have complained about some like the talk of Assassin's Creed just having a female protagonist.
Right, exactly that.
Going forwards. I mean, I tend to play it. If they give me the option, like I played as Eivor, I believe her name was, and I played as Cassandra before that. So I'm playing a computer game, so I'm role-playing with someone else. I'm not being me. Like, even when I get character creations where I get to design the person, I never make them look like me.
No.
In truth, I try to make them look as much like Danny DeVito as possible, if they give me the opportunity.
Yeah.
But, yeah, you're role-playing. There's no need to play exactly as yourself. So.
No, you hit a really interesting point. I think the point of anything like a film or any kind of media where you are not yourself, because again, it's escapism. You're meant to be able to enter a completely new world and a new perspective. These video games, now they hold such sort of this incredible power and like narrative sort of heft that they can make you experience these things firsthand. You are playing these characters, and like there are parts in the game, like Last of Us Part 2, where I was playing it and didn't want to do what the character was about to do, but ultimately it doesn't give you the choice, and that's the point. Like you're living that character's life and decisions, and there was just bits where I wanted to put the controller down. I was like, I don't want to do what you're about to do because I don't agree with what you're doing, and there's so much of that in it. And I think, part of me does understand. I think some people perhaps that went over their heads. I think they were playing it and like, well, why would I want to play as this character? Or they didn't live up to like I guess these like horrific stereotypes of what a character should look like or be like. And I love that. I think I love that it challenged it so much. And actually, I recently played through it for a second time because I wanted to kind of get my head around it again before I wrote my video. And like second playthrough was probably even more powerful because I really understood with that kind of like hindsight and be able to look at it a bit more clearly. It deals with so many things in such a brilliant way. And I am sad that so many people weren't willing to give that a chance, or in fact just couldn't see it for that. Just couldn't see it for what it was trying to do.
I'm kind of almost understand the fact that your positive review of it is it makes me want to put the controller down and not play. So like I can certainly see a lot of people would not play in that case. But yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I say never played it, not played number one. You are kind of making me want to see what this is. If something can make me want to actually not take part in the events on screen, that's got to be something that's.
It's again, without giving away too much, it's the very like at the very end. The very final kind of crescendo. Almost, I would say, the character that you feel like you've probably been pulling for the whole time. Like that's who you're playing as, and you have to do something that by that point, I just didn't want to do, and I was like, why are you doing this? Like, why are you like? You can almost feel like the character didn't want to be doing it either, and you're like, well then don't do it, and like don't make me have to bash some buttons to make you do it. Like. It's a visceral game. It's really like it's heavy hitting. It's dark. There's very little kind of levity. You don't come out of it feeling like gleamy. It's not an Animal Crossing.
There's a term I keep hearing when they're talking about some of these games that sad 'em up.
I've never heard that.
Which I absolutely love.
I like that. I like that. I would recommend it. I don't think I've played anything that has quite so much power. I remember my first playthrough. When I finished it, I was just in this, like, as you say, this, like, kind of strange sort of silence of, like, reflection of, like, what have I just experienced? Like, what have I just experienced? This is and it, I think it's incredible that a video game can do that. You look back and, video games were just such a casual 15 minutes, 20 minutes here when they first sort of were invented and now, like, we've got these things that, like, literally live with us for years after we've played them. I think that's just wonderful, like, but yeah, I'd recommend it wholly. Like, I just think it's a wonderful series. Really, it's got so many worthwhile kind of messages behind the fact that ultimately it's kind of like an action horror game, but it also just isn't that. It's just so much more. And I think credit to the developers and the writing team and stuff for that. But
definitely, actually, I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yes.
So I kind of know the feeling you're talking about. But it's a feeling like you get with movies. Or I've had with movies, you come out and you're just not quite sure. You need a bit of time to process it. Like, I've come out of the movies with my partner and we've just not spoken.
Right.
Got home and kind of just had to think about it for a while to really, get over whatever we've just seen on some of the sort of sad ones. Like,
so true.
A Star Is Born, I think was the last one that kind of did that for me. So,
yeah.
to see that on a game would be quite something.
Honestly, I would say it's comparative. But again, almost like you have a strange, like, because you sort of did it, you were playing it. It was you that, and again, not that you got to make the decisions because it's not a choose your own adventure game, but Yeah, like when you...
So you had to pull the trigger figuratively.
Yeah, and the game is so, like, you know, you get all this horrible feedback on your controller because it's, you know, it's vibrating in your hands as you're attacking people or, you know, doing whatever, because it's a dog-eat-dog world. Like, you know, people are, you know, having to kill or be killed, and just, it's... I don't think I've played a game that's more violent in a way that felt so real. Like, it's terrifyingly real, like, and, you know, does make you afraid to go outside. Yeah, I think, like, especially in a pandemic. I mean, like, you know, playing it again, and you're like, the streets are barren outside, and you're playing a game where there is the streets are also barren, and you're like, oh,
this is starting to feel too real.
A little bit, but again, these are all weird positives.
Some about the vibrations in the controller for feeling a fight. There was a game on the Wii. I think it was a mafia game.
Okay.
And you could choke people out as a, you know, mafia guy, but the controllers, the Wii remotes, would vibrate till they stopped vibrating.
No.
That is a very dark feature for a child's console. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a console that's kind of typically played for, you know, borderline families, but yeah, to feel breaths leaving your victims is
But you know what? Again, that's what's so unique about video gaming, because you can see someone do it in a TV show, you know, or a play or whatever. But to almost, again, like, you are role playing. Like, if you're playing that character, why not feel that sort of the gravity of what you've done? Because again, like, you know, you play like a Call of Duty, you're just like, you know, you're running around getting your kill streaks, and it doesn't mean anything because people just respawn, and it's you know, it's kind of desensitizing you to killing. Like,
sort of, I think the real people in a way, they're just numbers.
And then you have like that game where, as you say, you literally have to choke someone out and feel it happen, or The Last of Us, where it's just barbaric at times, and you think, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. Like, and that's great. I think in a world where death is so, you know, in all media, death is so, like, it's oversaturated. Like, of course it is, because it's got such power as a you know, a plot device. But there's so much of it that it doesn't always mean anything now. And I think to kind of make it mean something again, that's really strong.
Intriguing. It can, like, teach you an empathy.
Yeah.
Like something that most computer games won't. So yeah, I'd say never played it. Not played number one. All I see is the kind of a lot of negative press. I either see that it's amazing and wins 300 awards, I believe.
Yeah, it's the most awarded game in history.
Or it's absolute trash. Like, they're the kind of two opinions I hear about it. So, but the way you're talking about it, I can definitely kind of see why it might have won awards there. If it can kind of make you feel, you know.
Well, like, okay, so I think it might be the most divisive, sort of heavily awarded game that exists. But it's weird because as much as this, I think what happens is, like, the internet, unfortunately, is this toxic place a lot of the time now. And I think if you were to just look at the internet, you would think, oh, well, it's a huge failure because look at how much hatred there is. But I think that's where the internet is, where people go to sort of spew that hatred. Whereas I didn't go on social media and kind of praise it, because I don't use social media kind of in that way, I guess. I mean, you know, I wouldn't jump on social media if I hated something either. You know, I wouldn't be like, oh my God, I hate this. And I think, you know, that's the problem. Like, that when you look online, that isn't actually a complete picture of the world. Like, that's just, people go there probably to vent, to get these things off their chest, to kind of just to be these, like, faceless, you know, mutants, whatever.
It's like, if you've ever worked in any customer service,
right,
they
exactly.
always sort of tell you, like, you're going to get complaints, like 10 complaints for every, like, a third of the positive statements. People don't phone up to make positive statements.
Exactly.
They phone
exactly
up to complain, so.
But the fact that it's won player awards, it's won critic awards, you know, it is now the most awarded game in history. It just beat out The Witcher 3.
Oh wow!
Like, okay. that says something to me, and the fact that you know, it's just so. Again, we're like a year on, and it's still winning more and more awards. It's done something right, hasn't it?
But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely going to have to try and get myself a copy of this. As I say, there is a PlayStation 5 in the house. Oh. Was it available on PlayStation 4 number 2?
It was only on PS4, yeah.
Oh, okay, awesome. In which case, I've got one of those that hands me down from my partner after we upgraded.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been meaning to when I kind of run out of things to play, jump on there and kind of hit the last gen back catalogue for PlayStation. So I've missed all of it.
Some good stuff.
There's a lot of things in there I want to play.
But yeah, definitely go do Last of Us Part 1, the kind of remastered version, whatever. Straight in, man. Go straight in. It flows seamlessly, and it's a good experience. But go on, let's move on.
When are you actually, just one thing on that, when's your video for this come out?
Well, okay, so it's in progress. My hope is that it will be between Thursday and Saturday this coming week, because the anniversary is Saturday. That'll be a year since it was released.
So that's the Saturday, the 29th of May.
Yes, that'll be the
So
very
put in there to actually give a timestamp to this, because I don't know when this is going to be released anywhere. So
yeah, that'll be the very latest it goes out, even if I have to have sleepless nights to get it over the line. But
know the feeling now of doing the editing, but it's different. It hits different when you're doing it for a passion, doesn't it?
It does, but also, work don't understand that. When I wake up feeling knackered the following morning and I'm sort of trying to get through my daily workload as well, they don't understand that I have to stay awake till 4 a.m. to get the video edit done. But it'll get there. It'll get there.
And so, with the video you have on the site, or the videos you have on the site, I can't help noticing, just from my own attempts of video editing, just how polished your ones are looking.
Thank you very much.
You did mention something before about other projects you've sort of worked on, but none personally, none passionately. So I just want to know what your kind of previous experience in like media or video work is.
Yeah, so going back to what I sort of said at the beginning, I was in a band for 8 years, where we kind of went from what I can only explain as like very green to like everything in the world really of sort of marketing yourself. And then we sort of over those 8 years really taught ourselves like every sort of tool we needed, from sort of design work, animation to video editing and audio editing and stuff. So, sort of self-taught myself during the years in the band, from sort of making like promo videos and music videos and stuff. During that time, I was also part of like a magazine company. We were making similar sort of like online content. And since then I've had lots of like different projects, from like attempts at YouTube channels and vlog channels and other things like that, where I've just kind of kept my toe in the water really when it comes to sort of doing these things. And then more recently in my job, I work for an events company and have sort of worked my way up to the point now I'm a creative copywriter at work, but I also help with a lot of content creation for like marketing and things like that. So yeah, I'm sort of doing more and more of it really. So it's one of those things that over time has become, I think it's almost one of those things you can't, if you have got any business or project now, you kind of can't go without having some knowledge of videoing. So I think, yeah, it's good. It's one of those things that's been good to kind of keep going in the background and keep sort of refining skills and output and stuff.
So yeah, previous YouTube and vlog channels, were those just, vlogging, that's basically like a diary, right?
Yeah.
A video diary? So
the band was coming to a close, and I'm one of these people that can't just sit still. I love having multiple projects on the go, and I'm just, I do like, I guess I just like entertaining people really. I like to kind of create things for people to enjoy or to have discussion sort of pieces and things. And I didn't really know what to do, like after the band. I had no idea what I was going to do, because that had sort of been my bread and butter for so long. And somebody kind of said once, like, "Oh, your life seems so interesting," because like, I was a teacher at the time, and also I was like a teacher and in the band at the same time, and they were like, "Your life's just so interesting, like, you do both these things." And I thought maybe that will be interesting then. Maybe I could do a channel where I kind of do a little bit about like just sort of stuff that goes on in my life and just YouTube videos of whatever sort of interested me. But I hated having a camera on all the time and just like trying to I didn't think my actual life was that interesting really, and I found myself really digging deep to try and find anything to make content from.
Basically entertaining.
Yeah, and that's why I think having something that you are passionate about, like gaming, like I don't have to, like the gaming world exists without me, so I can just then pick from it and give my opinions on it. It's much nicer. The other channel was like a comedy sketch channel, which was a lot of fun. But again, one of those things that we didn't know exactly which route to take with it, and we had a lot of very varying content, and in the end I think I've landed here, and I think I quite this is like the kind of conclusion of everything that I've done. I've narrowed it down, and I think, well, actually talk about something that you love and put your own spin on it, and that's probably the best thing you can do.
You need somewhat like with, say, a comedy channel that involves a lot of creating, a lot of content. Gaming kind of feels like they throw stuff at you all the time. There's never an ending amount of news and new games to talk about. So
and it's one of those things that I do anyway. Like I'm going to play games anyway, so then to just talk about it afterwards or whatever isn't as much of an upheaval as you say. You haven't got to literally create something from nothing. Like you as you say, you've already got the foundation.
So just to take a quote from your introduction video here.
Sure.
So we got, forget traditional reviews, playthroughs and commentaries. Glitchqraft is all about the love of video gaming, a community of gamers who love the art, history and storytelling behind our favourite sofa and snack pastime. So, I just want to say, can you tell me a bit about what content you're actually looking to put up on the channel, if it isn't things like reviews, playthroughs and commentaries?
Yeah, so I mean, okay, I unfortunately don't have the time to, every time a new release hits, to sit and play it for 40 hours and then give a kind of review. You know, that's the dream, I suppose. But, you know, there are 1,000, probably more, 10,000 channels out there that do that. And again, a bit late to the party. So I thought, well, actually, rather than being someone that reviews or criticizes kind of, you know, these video game releases, I have like a real interest in how things are created, in sort of the process, kind of the symbolism, like things kind of between the lines. And I think video gaming is really, like, now more than ever, starting to delve into those sort of, into the same kind of like territory as something like literature or film, where, you know, it's not just your kind of 2D thing anymore. There is just so much going on in the background, and there's so much work and effort that probably goes unsung. You know, you look at these, again, I'm gonna go to Cyberpunk just because I think, you know, there was never been a game probably as hyped as Cyberpunk was, like, leading up to its release. And when you look at the level of, like, not just the level of detail, but just almost what they were trying to achieve, you know, it was just unbelievable when you look at it. And yes, they didn't maybe stick the landing, but I think when you really, if you were to dig into that stuff, that's what captivated people so much. You know, it was the level of detail where they said, like, no two streets will be the same. Like, there's so many details here that you'll just find, and you can share that with your friends. And I think there are so many games like that where if you are a fan of, for example, The Legend of Zelda, and then you play Breath of the Wild, and you can come across, you know, so many little Easter eggs and nods to previous games, or, you know, things that kind of hark back to an old bad guy, or an old, you know, an old iteration of the game or whatever. There's just so much to talk about, and I wanted a channel that kind of really kind of involved itself in that, and sort of appreciated the artistry that goes behind it. Because again, as someone who's created content, and, you know, you don't just create content that is two-dimensional. You know, you create content that is a little bit more in depth, and a little bit more, you know, you want people to dig into it. So I think we owe it to these people that spend hundreds of hours creating these games for our entertainment, just to spend some time looking at what they've done. And I would love, I think, in the future, to be able to talk to some of these people more closely and say, you know, well, talk to me about your decisions for including this or doing that or not doing this. And that's really where I want to go. So what the sort of content, there will be things like listicles and those sorts of things in there, but I wanted somewhere where I could do a few deep dives into, like on the channel at the minute, obviously there's the, you know, our video games and art form. Kind of wanted to dig into, well, what is that? What is an art form? Why aren't video games classed as one yet? And you know, what are the arguments that kind of back up that maybe they should be? And I think video games are misunderstood. I think, you know, I've got a lot of sort of older friends who have no idea really about video gaming, or my parents who don't really understand what, you know, sort of what video games are. They just see them as like a bit of fun. And there's just so much there that I think people don't understand that are in video games. They're not just like button bash, you know, shoot 'em ups and kind of waste of time. There's lessons to be learned. There's you know, creativity and imagination and inspiration there, and that deserves some spotlight, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching your our video games art just before this, and started thinking to myself, like, I'm a shameful arty wanker. You know, I do love going to see an art and such. And I was starting trying to think to myself, do I consider video games art myself? Like, and to a degree, yeah, like I do. And this is just something I would love to be able to have a conversation with you about, to actually sort of discuss it over. Because yeah, it just doesn't really. I mean, it doesn't like get the recognition as art that it might well deserve. But why is that? So yeah, that's definitely something I'd love to have a conversation about sometime.
Let's do it. Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, actually, I was going to ask at some point. So we do run a podcast. Fancy joining us as a guest at some point in the future?
That would be an honour. Let's do it. That sounds really good.
Wonderful. Just putting you on the pressure while we're doing a live interview to make you
can't say no.
Say yes.
No live on air. No, sorry, mate. I'm not fancy that. No, but genuinely, it would be good.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, because I'd love to, especially that. I mean, maybe there'll be other videos that I see and just have a need to discuss with you at some point, but for now, that is something I would like to talk about, the whole art behind video games. So yeah, it does sound interesting, and as you say, there is plenty of, including ourselves, plenty of channels out there doing reviews and things that have all been done 1,000 times before. So to actually talk about it in a more mature fashion, almost, and as you say, like, it's societally important now, video games, or it feels like it's at least becoming societally important. that could be the echo chamber of gaming I'm in. But
no, I think that's really one of the things that I'm trying to shout from the rooftops. I think gaming isn't just, you know, your blips and your bloops anymore like it used to be. Like, you know, like it even in the boom, like in the sort of boom era where you had your Pac-Mans and stuff, where like video gaming suddenly became something that you wanted to put in the mainstream media and everyone wanted it in their house, and arcades were massive. Like, that was for a different reason. It was a very kind of passive, quick pastime where, you know, you chuck in a couple of, you know, 10p's or whatever to play your machine, and you have a good time for a bit and then you go home. But they're not that now. As you said, they are more aligned now with film and literature in that they are trying to give a message, and they're trying to, you know, change people's thoughts and educate people, and more people need to realize that. I think you know, of course, you know, if you still want to just play your FIFAs and your Call of Duties, go ahead. Like it's for everyone. But you know, there is so much more now that, you know, again, there's some games that I've played that I wanted to talk for hours afterwards. I played a game a while back called Gone Home. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of it.
Okay. I have, but yeah. No,
so it's well, okay. So it's like what you call one of those walking simulators where, you know, you're first person and you basically you think you play a character who just comes home to like the family home after being away traveling, and no one's home, and it starts off feeling like it's going to be a horror game because all the power's off in the house and it's a bit weird, a bit spooky that no one's there, and ultimately the game sort of runs through, like, you find like letters and you find videotapes and stuff that kind of just start to unravel things that have been happening in this family for generations that you just weren't maybe aware of. And there's implications of, you know, sort of sexual assault within the family. There's, like a girl who is like sort of wants to come out as a lesbian to her family, but doesn't think they're going to accept her for that. And she doesn't feel, you know, I think she's suffering with like depression and stuff. And you can run through this game and probably miss most of this information if you just sort of like run around through it. But if you really spend time and look at all the ridiculous detail that they've kind of hidden in place, you know, where like in plain sight sometimes, I came away like, oh my god, like, is this something that people have played and like they understand this? And I've got a few of my friends were like, oh, I played it, I hated it, it was so boring. And I was like, how can you find this boring? And I went online and found loads of articles where people have felt the same as me and felt this need to be like, oh, people need to play this game and like understand the messages behind it. And it isn't, you know, as I say, it's not a video game in the traditional sense because, you know, it's like more like an interactive drama, but that's starting to become a really popular genre now. You know, you're getting things like Life is Strange or like the games by Quantic Dream, like Heavy Rain and Detroit and those sorts of things, where you do sort of play, but you're playing like a drama and you're getting to make decisions or that kind of thing. Or even the other walking simulators like Firewatch or those sorts of things. Like, you know, you're not really playing a game. You're sort of, you are a character. You are role playing a character in like a short film or you know, and I just think that's so interesting. And there's just so much more to gaming now than there ever has been. So yeah, I wouldn't say what you've just said is it in a gaming bubble. I think you're absolutely right that it has societal importance now.
I think that Gone Home, when you started talking about that, reminded me of where I've heard of it. One of our writers actually recommended it to me as well.
Yeah.
Because it's by What Remains of Edith Finch, I believe.
Yeah. It's, well, I don't know if it's the same people, but it's a very similar game style.
I believe it is.
Makes sense.
I believe what I was told it's meant to be like the story of one of the characters from that who isn't sort of in the show, but like, or in that original game. But I'm a big fan of walking simulators myself, to be honest.
Yes.
Like, I don't need games to be a threat to me that often. I don't need a challenge. I quite often just want to just chill back, play through. Like, not Life is Strange, but the one that came after. Tell me why.
Oh, yeah. So I still haven't played it, but I've had so many people say like, "This is your game. You need to play it." So it's on. If
you're into that kind of walking similar drama, it's definitely something you should give a go.
I will.
Yeah, talk about like just the FIFA and the COD players. Even that is quite unique. Like, if you talk about, say, the previous generation and the Pac-Man and the machines, but there was kind of a thing where they would play those when they were a kid in the arcades, and then they grew up and stopped playing those kind of games. And fair enough, they're not, you know, there's a limit to how much you can sit around playing Pac-Man, I guess. But nowadays, our generation, we're the adults now, and we're still playing all these games. Even the casual gamers, they're still, for entertainment, sitting down and playing Call of Duty or FIFA. So it's definitely like, it is a viable entertainment for adults. It's not just this kids thing.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, let's be honest as well. Like, the people that really sort of hammer the Call of Duties and the FIFAs probably aren't kids. Like, as you say, they're the adults that played growing up, and now it's a quick burst of kind of.
I know plenty of people that sort of just play FIFA, but like, yeah, they're my age. It's just what you do instead of watching TV.
Exactly, it's a little bit more of an active relaxation or just a bit of enjoyment. And you know what? Like, I've got, again, some of my friends would be really critical of those sort of gamers. Like, oh, they're not gamers. Like, as if that's some sort of weird accolade that puts you on a pedestal if you are a gamer. Like, more than happy for people to just be those sort of gamers, because that's what they're there for. They are games. At their heart, it is a game that you play. Like, it doesn't matter. Some people like Monopoly, some people like Twister. Like, they're still games. So why can't a video game have that kind of, that difference? One is a quick bit of fun. The other is Monopoly, which, Jesus Christ, I hate Monopoly.
No, but I will not play Monopoly. Last time I played Monopoly, I chose to be the banker. So I just sat aside dishing out the money. Like, I just don't want to partake in that game.
No, but again, that's my point, right? The fact that, you look at a board game, which I suppose in some respects is a precursor to video gaming, and there are some you love and some you hate. And I think, that's the joy of it. It's a variety pack, isn't it? Some people are going to love Gone Home. Other people are going to think, what is this boring, absolute sort of dull dishwater game? And then again, I'm not a FIFA or maybe even like a racing game sort of lover. They're not my thing really. But if that's what you love doing, like if you want to role play an F1 driver because you love it, but obviously you're not an F1 driver in real life, go and get your F1 simulator. Like have a great time.
Actually, that's in terms of simulation. I know a lot of people play just Football Manager.
Yeah.
Which is a spreadsheet. That is not a game, in my opinion. That is just a spreadsheet. But they love it, and I guess it's that when you're a football fan and you're shouting at the director, what do they call it, manager of a team, because he's not doing a good enough job, and they're getting to live out their kind of what if I was that manager position. So the gaming's great for any kind of escape, and it is. I don't mind people who just play cards. That is still gaming to me.
Agreed.
Even if it's not, I play a lot of walking sims. I play most games on fairly easy modes because I'm just doing them to relax.
Right.
So a lot of people wouldn't think of me as a gamer. I'm playing too many of those. So it's just something that everyone does nowadays.
Yeah, good. Long may it be that way.
Really, I think that just about wraps up everything I wanted to ask you. So where can people find you?
Okay, so I'm pretty much on every social media, so Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch. I've got a few other things kind of in the background that I'm hoping to kick off eventually, but it's all at Glitchqraft, and the craft is with a Q, so it should be fairly easy to find me.
Just to confirm for everyone, that's Glitchqraft. Just because I had a struggle trying to find that myself. So.
Well, in fairness, with classic algorithms, I am difficult to find at the minute because I'm still so new. But absolutely, if you just put the @ symbol beforehand, it tends to come up pretty much everywhere.
Oh, typing in Glitchqraft exactly into YouTube comes up with you straight away. There's no one else that's got anything similar. No one's used that word before. You've created a word.
Yeah, and let's hope it becomes something people understand and know what it is.
And associate with the magic of gaming.
Yeah.
So it's been a pleasure to speak to you.
And you.
And
thank you for having me on.
Good luck. No worries.